Namaste, buonasera a tutti nel Tempio della Luce di Ananda Assisi. Welcome everyone in the Temple of Light at Ananda Assisi, dove vogliamo celebrare insieme a voi la vita di Swami Kriyananda, che è iniziato il 19 maggio, adesso la data non me la ricordo, credo 1927. La data, il giorno ce lo ricordiamo sempre, il 19 maggio, e ancora continua. So his life started many years ago, almost 90 years ago, on this day, May 19th, and it still continues for us. Perché con il suo Mahasamadhi, con il suo moksha, lui invece di essere ancora attaccato a un corpo è diventato onnipresente, l'abbiamo sentito tutti. Because after his moksha, after leaving his body here at Ananda Assisi in 2013, he became omnipresent, so to speak, and we can still feel his presence. So, quindi celebriamo questa sera non solo per Swami, ma con Swami. Lui è presente con noi. So we will celebrate this evening not just for Swami, but with Swami. He will be here with us, sharing especially his inspiration, condividendo con noi soprattutto la sua ispirazione. Sono qui con due bellissimi musicisti. I'm here with two wonderful musicians, Julian and Vinaya, from America, but residents here at Ananda Assisi since for many years. Sono Julian e Vinaya residenti qui in America da tanti anni, in Ananda Assisi da tanti anni, e loro condivideranno 4 canti di Swamiji, quelli più interiorizzati, and they will share some of the more inward-flowing songs by Swamiji that we don't hear so often. Poi c'è Annapurna che traduce in 2 lingue, è eroica. She will translate Annapurna in 2 languages. We have Ruby, who will speak. We have Premi, che condividerà i suoi ricordi di Swamiji in italiano e sarà tradotto in inglese. E abbiamo un valoroso staff tecnico, Sabina e Durga e Marina. Quindi grazie a tutti. Thank you all for being here. We're starting now with Vinaya and Julian singing a song. They will tell the title. E poi Naya Swami Premi parlerà in italiano e dovrete mettere quindi il bottone sulla traduzione se non capite. Ok? Have a wonderful evening. Vi auguro una serata piena di beatitudine.
This song Swamiji wrote is called 𝗕𝗚𝗡.
E questa canzone che ha scritto Swami Kriyananda si chiama
Come here while I sing you of emerald hills, of valleys and meadows so fair, that all who have seen them have carried away memories in their hearts, friends, like the lilacs of May. Oh, my song is the story of the lilacs of May. My song is the story of deer on the hills, of larks that soar seeking the sun, of nightingales lifting the curtain of night, as with music they bring down heaven's blessing of light. Oh, my song is the story of God's blessing of light. Come join of the 𝗕𝗜𝗥𝗧𝗛𝗓, of flowers that like jewels besprinkle the lea, of waterfalls eager to embrace the wide sea, as we with our Maker united would be, as we with our Maker reunited would be. Come here while I sing you of emerald hills, of valleys and meadows so fair, that all who have seen them have carried away memories in their hearts, friends, like the lilacs of May. Oh, my song is the story of the lilacs of May.
Quanto amo questa.
I love so much this music. It makes me think of Swami so much. Thank you. The gifts that Swamiji gave us are uncountable. All his written words and his music, his life. When I met Swami, I remember that I was really impressed. I had understood right away that he was a very special person. It was summer 1996. I was initiated with Kriya by Swami Kriyananda. And after a few days, there was an informal meeting at his home. And when I got there, I was very touched by this beautiful energy that was there. I was so happy to be part of that meeting. And he was talking with the people coming in, and he was talking to the people who were there. He was very curious about them, talking to them. And at some point he turns towards me and then gives me a big smile and tells me, welcome. How many years have passed since the last time we saw each other, he said. And, I had just met him three months before, and this was my second meeting with him. And I said, what was going on, Mamma Mia? So I understood he referred to the previous incarnations. There is an asana that has an affirmation that says, I spread love and benevolence to my friends everywhere. And Swami, he was such a person who would irradiate benevolence and love. It's not just as an affirmation. It was a state of consciousness. He had a friendship towards everybody, and everybody was his friend. There was a conference in a hotel in Rome where he was going to present his last book. And there were people coming from everywhere in Italy, and the hall was so filled with people, many people. And so he starts the conference with the tears in his eyes. He looked very touched, and he said, when we were in the car coming to the hotel, all the people that I met, I felt like my very special dear people, dear ones. And I couldn't believe how a person could feel everybody as his own friend, as his own family, almost family members. In fact, he wrote a song, Brothers, and in the English version, there is a line that goes, who knows himself, who actually knows God, can perceive everybody as his own brothers. and with the spirit that Swami created the word brotherhood colonies, the communities, and where in a sort of miraculous way, many people, after many years now, they live together. They mix with their mixed cultures and traditions. They come from everywhere, and they live in harmony. Certainly, there is the blessing of Master, but Swami taught us how to be together this way. It was in the year 2000 when Swami wanted to organize a concert in different churches here in Italy. And so there were 50 people actually came from America, from the US choir, to chant the oratory that Swami wrote about Christ's life. And in the churches, there were a lot of people who attended, people who were very passionate about music. At the end of the concerts, very often people would stand and would applaud with such an intensity. And I had a blessing to follow Swami in this tour, at least part of it. So there was this one time when we came out from a restaurant, and there was a group of us with him, and we were taking a stroll in Florence. There were over there were his dearest friends, old-time friends, people who had started with him this adventure, and they were talking in English. One thing I understood is that they were really talking about something very interesting, but I couldn't understand anything. I was just trying to make some understanding of it, trying to really get something out of it, and I was enjoying, the fact that they were having fun. And then I said, "Don't worry, you're with Swami. You are in his vibration. What do you care to understand the words that they're saying? You're already drinking from that joy and that wisdom. Be just accepting and take whatever is available there for you." And as soon as I finished to think of this particular thought, Swami turns to me and tells me, "Premi, you have a good spirit." And I was so happy. And then he turns around again and keeps talking in English. Oh, I just said how exquisite this thought, and he was able to interpret my sort of emotion, and he was communicating with me, not with words, and I could perceive his joy in God. And very often that's how he would communicate with people. He was very intuitive, and he would read us like an open book. And even if the hall was so full, and wherever he was speaking to the people, he would communicate with people. He would enter people's consciousness, and everybody felt important. Everybody felt appreciated and part of all of this. I think in 1999 we took a pilgrimage to India with the entire community, and before we left, Swami came to the dining room. And he said a few things, and then he gave us his blessing. And we left. It was many of us. In fact, we had two groups, and every once in a while we would meet. The two groups would meet, and it was fun. And a few days later, when we came back, and I met Swami here on the stairs, and he was so excited. And he told me, "How was it for you, this pilgrimage?" And I said, "Oh, it was so great." And we went to the boutique to talk together a little bit. So there was a couch there. So we sat together, and I told him about the experience, and especially about a week seclusion that I took in 𝗔𝗣𝗣𝗑 Gufa. And Swami said, I did too, to take a seclusion there as well. And he meditated there in this grotto that it's really beautiful. It's half open, and it overlooks the Ganges River. And there are some plants that are dropping down, and it's kind of very romantic as well, fascinating place. And he told me, there during that time there was a serpent there, and I said, Swami, how did you meditate there? He said, no problem. I only knew about it at the end. And so I was laughing. It was just having fun. One time we were in Lugano. We were meant to leave. There was a little group of us with him. And in the afternoon we were meant to leave. So we got ready. We had all our bags ready to go in a little room in the hotel. And then we went for a stroll on the lake shore. And at some point he stops and says, I must go back to the hotel. There is a very important manuscript there. And it's very important. And he said, what is it? It's all the scripts and the words of Master, the entire, that I heard from him the last 3.5 years I was with him. I must keep it with me. I don't want to leave it there. And then when he came back, I had a letter folder that really looked so lived. And he was so happy and smiling because he had his guru's words with him at that point. And there was another time we were always in Lugano, and we were in a big commercial center that Swami liked very much. And we were in the department for skiers. And he comes here close to me, and it says, yeah, I have the passion of skiing, he said. But then at some point I had to stop skiing because I had an operation. And then he tells me a story. When he was little, he went with his father skiing. And they were on top of a slope of a mountain. And his father just starts quickly to go down, but he doesn't feel like following him. And he stops there and he just cries out to his father, Dad, Dad. And his father tries to slow down, but it was complicated, and he loses his skis, and it was a complete disaster, and he was completely covered with the snow. And then he turns towards his son, and from a distance he tells him, what's going on, my son? My dad, why are the bells ringing? And so he smiled, and it was, so innocent. These little anecdotes. For me, I'm telling you these stories because its beauty was very simple, very wise at the same time, and very good-hearted. I believe I can do much more for the people as a friend rather than in any other role. And it's true, because I still perceive him today as my best friend, along with my guru. I have two friends. One is Swami, one is Master. So I'm really hoping to reach the kingdom of heaven, because they will bring me there. A friend always showed respect towards everyone. He was also very patient. Not really patience, it's towards our incomprehensions and little sort of mistakes, with a sense of helping us, going with us, never judging us. Just it would show us how important was for him that we get closer to God. And the conversation with him were quite short, but I still remember his words, and they were such a great source of inspiration. At times I understood his words years later, despite the fact that they seemed clear in the beginning, but only later I really understood what he meant, even in his talks. At the end, usually just utters one major sentence, a major concept, and the way he proposes it, he does it in a way that people can relate to that concept in the way they manage to, and they can. And even if you don't feel like being able to reach those heights, you don't feel like disappointed. This is the greatness of saints, that the saints help you to desire God and help you understand that you can also reach God at your own pace. He's helping you, but you don't feel being judged. You don't feel being the last one. It's something really beautiful that he was able to communicate this way. And Swami said the Master told him that he would have done much more than just teaching. He said that he would have had the spiritual responsibility to accompany, actually the spiritual goal to have a sort of responsibility towards the people. In fact, many people here at Ananda, you're attuned with me and you're connected to me and through me with our Guru. He was a means for God and for our Guru. When I met him, I had already the Guru, our Guru, and even Jesus in my heart. But through Swami, I was able to get closer, much more closer to Master in a deeper way. Because the love that I could see from Swami, I could see that it was a Master's love for me. It was making the Master's love more tangible because you could actually receive it. His tolerance, and his understanding, that respect. It was obvious that it was God who was loving that way. That was the greatness of being able to know somebody like Swami. And even now, it's the same thing for many people, even for people who have not met him, and through his music and his books, and through this, there is a relationship that get triggered by the people. So thank you very much, Swami.
The song is called Have You Seen Sorrento? I've roamed the far hills and learned many skills. I've wandered on many a shore, though often I've thought I'd gained what I sought. A voice always said, there's more. Go sing with the sun and dance with the moon. Go ride on the highest star. The reaches of space lack one special place. It's there that my heart did soar. Have you seen Sorrento? Roamed her emerald hills, breathed her morning magic, flowers and bounding rills. Beauty spring is gladness, shaming mortal skill. skills, I've wandered on many a shore. Though often I've thought I'd gained what I sought, a voice always said, there's more. Go sing with the sun and dance with the moon. Go ride on the highest star. The reaches of space lack one special place. It's there that my heart did soar. Have you seen Sorrento? Have you seen Sorrento?
She didn't know I was going to cheat a little bit with my notes. Thank you for the beautiful music. I'm going to speak English. And I would like to speak about Swami Kriyananda as the first all-round Dvapara Yuga world citizen. So I'll just spend a few words about explaining the phenomena of Dvapara Yuga. Great yogis, astrologers, and especially Swami 𝗕𝗓𝗪𝗘 calculated that the world goes through different cycles, 4 of them. And he said, recently, 321 years ago right now, in around the year 1700, the world entered a new era, you might say, which he named Dvapara Yuga, the age of energy. There were 200 years of transition, and in 1900, around the year 1900, started what 𝗕𝗓𝗪𝗘 calls Dvapara Yuga proper. Now, this means that we are all, since then, the world has changed dramatically. No century before the year 1900 had the world gone through so many dramatic changes as over the past 121 years. Completely different. And the apparent challenges that we face, the difficulties, the wars, the climate crisis, and so on, is simply caused by our inability by most people's inability to appreciate and understand the changes that are trying to happen on Earth for mankind. It is always difficult to understand, to accept change. And the great contribution of the masters of this path, and like I said, especially Swami 𝗕𝗓𝗪𝗘, was that he gave what is happening a context. And his booklet, small booklet, The Holy Science, was just a seed that he planted. Then came Yogananda to the West. And then came Swami Kriyananda, who became Yogananda's disciple. And Swami Kriyananda was able, as no one else, completely and fully to embrace and to appreciate and to perceive the needs of the future, you might say. How do we need to change? What is trying to happen for mankind? And he used what he had learned from his guru, and of course, to serve his guru and to serve mankind, he put his life, let's say, to the service of helping people to understand and then live according to the changes that are trying to happen. So, how did he try to do this? When he came, we all know, he came to Ananda, he came to Master Paramhansa Yogananda in 1948 on September 12th, and he stayed a disciple because he could appreciate that the bond between a guru and his disciple is not at all limited by his physical presence. It goes much further than that. It is not even defined by the organization or the institution that a master may found. Swami Kriyananda, at a certain point, had to leave that institution and had to live his discipleship first alone, in solitude and also in loneliness, we might say. And then, because he was true to himself, always to himself as a disciple, he started drawing the people to him to be able to take a next step in his service to his guru, Paramhansa Yogananda. So there are three basic characteristics of the time in which we live, this Dwapara Yuga. One is an increased energy awareness. The other one is the empowered individual, so individualism. And the third is we get a little bit smarter, each one of us, a little bit more intelligent. Okay? So let us see how Swami manifested these three characteristics in his own life, in his service, and also in his teachings, in what he shared with us. Well, he was always aware that religion was the most important key, the most important drive for human progress. And he meant religion in the sense of our need, each one of us, to connect with a higher reality, with a higher consciousness that helps us, that empowers especially the expansion of our hearts, and that helps us to get in touch with our own soul and our own higher awareness, our own higher nature. So, but he also realized, even as a child, that religion, as it came to him in the traditional form, didn't work anymore. So when he came to Yogananda, he said, I came to Yogananda because he inspired me. It was his own individual, intimate adventure. And then, when he came, he tried his whole life, as he did, and as he's still doing, to understand the core of Yogananda's teachings. He said, the cornerstone of Yogananda's teachings is energy awareness. Now, this means that the spirituality that Yogananda is giving us, and that Swami Kriyananda was also transmitting to each one of us, is free-flowing. He, in fact, in the first interview in the wonderful movie Finding Happiness, he says, Ananda is not religious, it's spiritual, he said. And I say that because he says, religion for me means sort of institutionalized, compartmentalized, a little dogmatic, etc. Whereas spirituality is free-flowing. Now, he had to suffer to accept that this was his deeper nature, his deeper understanding of these teachings, because if it had been for him, he would have stayed in the organization, the institution that his master had founded, Self-Realization Fellowship, and just serve within that context. But as it was, there was a different direction in that organization. Things were going in a different direction from what he felt that he had to do. And he wasn't aware of that. And so conflict happened, and he was expelled from the organization. And SRF is still serving the cause, of course, in their own way. And Swami had to then follow his own light, his own perception of Master's guidance. And he realized then when conflict or constant opposition came from that organization against what Swami was doing, he always tried to explain it not on a level of personalities that are clashing or even organizations that are clashing, but of principles that are clashing. He said, institutionalism or free-flowing spirituality. With free-flowing spirituality, he did not mean that organization is not necessary. Organization is very important if you want to bring something to other people. And our daily lives are guided by organization. This event started at 8:30, and we put that on the calendar, so people know it started at 8:30. And the appointments, our days are organized according to appointments with other people. So it's always organization. But on the other hand, that is not an end in itself. The spirit behind the organization, the devotion behind the organization, the longing for God that is behind Ananda is much more important. And what is even more important, and that brings us to the second characteristic of Dwapara Yuga, is the empowered individual. Dwapara Yuga is the era of individualism, or maybe not individualism, but of, in its highest octave, enlightened self-interest and the empowerment of the individual. So when you listen to, for example, the wonderful memories that Premi has shared with us, Swami Premi before me, you can see how Swami was able to relate to people. And you could think, how is this humanly possible? I mean, here you have a man who started a very big work, a very great work. He started a community and then another one. And he wrote books and he traveled and he was an important man. But in reality, what he always tried to do is look at individuals, inspire individuals. He tried to see the divine spark in each one of us. And he realized that when you have a community or a group of people who are trying to do things together, you can never impose anything on people from without. You have to awaken their interest and their enthusiasm from within. He did that by being very, very loyal to his own self, to his own calling. He was true to himself and to his love and devotion for Master, and also to his pursuit of enlightenment, his pursuit of moksha, final liberation. This loyalty, this faith gave him the magnetism to attract other people who were sincere. So that is a completely different thing from the way it was done in the past, where you try to convert other people to your own beliefs. He didn't convert anyone. He was magnetic because he had been loyal to his own search, because he had kept the connection with the Guru uppermost in his heart, and that gave him the power and the strength and the magnetism to attract sincere people. The majority of the people he attracted were very sincere. And he said sincerity is a most important quality on the spiritual path. So instead of his leadership then, instead of trying to come with, this is what we're going to do, this is what Master said, he encouraged people to say, don't think of what Master said. Try to feel what Master is saying to you right now in your own heart. And we are trying to do the same thing. We're not, of course, it's wonderful to hear all these memories of stories about Swami's life. But in reality, we're trying to go deep within and try to feel what he's telling us right now. Okay, so that is such a completely different way of leadership, an enlightened way of leadership. He said a leadership is necessary also in Dwapara Yuga, but it has to be a leadership that inspires people, that supports people. And Swami he inspired me greatly from the very beginning. Since the first time when I heard his voice, he began to inspire me. And he awakened always deep enthusiasm in my heart for the spiritual path. When I went a little bit off, every time I go a little bit off or I went a little bit off, there was his voice and his dedication and his smile and the tone of his voice and his music and his books. It also means that you always look for superconscious solutions. You become solution-oriented. And so being solution-oriented, that means that you do not go the old way. So you cannot say, okay, Master said this and this and this. He founded a school or an organization. He wrote this and this and this. And that's what I'm going to follow with my mind, okay? The heart has to be there as well. What masters are really trying to do is to help us focus our mind, seek connection here in the spiritual eye, calm the heart, and then feel that guidance, that superconscious guidance that always helps us to see solutions. I remember when he was in... There was a court case going on in America, and it was pretty tough. It was really difficult. And so at a certain point, he came to Italy, and that was when this temple was just finished. There was no carpet, and you could still see, it was not completely finished, but almost. And he came, and he was just so happy. He said maybe at the point, it was clear that in America there was a point where, let's wait for what happens. I can't do anything now, so what can I do? What's my next step? He came here and he supported us in, the inauguration, the dedication of this temple where people came from all over Europe, from all over the world, and he gave us all that energy, and he was completely solution-oriented. So the third point then of characteristic of Dwapara Yuga, as I said, is we have all become a little bit more intelligent. Our minds, our intellects receive a little bit more energy. It's only 50%, alas. We're still pretty stupid, all of us. There's nothing we can do about that. But on the other hand, we are more intelligent, and that explains why so many important scientific discoveries were made during the 20th century, and why it continues, it goes on exponentially. Every year, the amount of knowledge increases, and you can't even teach it to children. You have to teach children something else. You can't tell them every year, this year, I don't know, Steve Jobs has invented another iPhone and 𝗔𝗓𝗓. No, you have to go deeper and go teach people to concentrate and to focus and then learn everything they need to know for the moment. So it explains all the enormous changes that happened in the world. But Swamiji never used his intellect as an end in itself. He used his intellect when he had to write books. And then he did it, he had great clarity. So there was always a sense of devotion and feeling behind what he wrote, very clearly, but it was his words and his concepts and even the way he structures his books are crystal clear. That doesn't mean that they're always easy to read, but I would recommend everyone to study his books, really, because they give you much more than just, another book. They give you superconscious insights, the vibrations behind it. So I would like to spend a few words then on this book, Hope for a Better World, because many of the things that I have shared with you now, you can read in this book. He wrote it in 2001, and it's called Hope for a Better World, the Small Communities Solution. In 2001, that was also the year when there were the attacks on the Twin Towers in New York, 9/11. So it was important for people to many Americans especially, were again looking for a deeper meaning. They couldn't get it. People were desperately looking for meaning. And this book came out in that same year. And this is interesting. He said, I wrote this book. So far, Ananda is a fairly unknown community movement. And in books about modern communities, Ananda just received a very little attention, which is strange because Ananda is one of the most successful communities. It has existed for over 50 years. It's not just one community, there are many communities. And Swami said that is because people think that we are sectarian. The first books that he wrote about community was cooperative communities, how and why, or why and how to build them. And it started almost with Yogananda and with the spiritual path. Now he wanted to write a book that was, where he did not mention Ananda or Yogananda so much, but just indicates that for Dwapara Yuga, small communities are an ideal solution. Why? Because in smaller communities, the individual growth becomes easier. If I live in a huge city and I don't know anyone really, or I know some people and I change jobs and I change friends, and it's just very, very heterogeneous, very mixed vibrations. Yeah, I get my individual needs, the beauty that's within me, my deeper aspirations, it gets little nourishment. Whereas the communities, as he presents them, are meant to help the individual to grow. I can testify myself that I have been connected with Ananda since I first met Swami in 1985, but over the past, since I came to live here about 13 years ago, I have never grown as fast as over the past 13 years. It has not been easy because in order to grow, the ego comes under attack, and that is never easy. But on the other hand, it gives a different type of joy that is much, much more authentic and deeper and also more consistent. It's just what I really am. Okay, so I can see and testify, and I can see it in many other people that have come to live in this community, that the individual growth, just they start to blossom. It may be difficult the first years, but over the years, if they are dedicated, if they do their best, they grow and they have a chance to do so. When the individual becomes enlightened, then a different world is possible. You can't just say, okay, here's a new philosophy, let's protect the earth and through new laws. All this is important, but only when the individual wakes up to a deeper understanding of the spiritual connection that holds everything together, and when he accepts himself and he can give from himself what he uniquely has to give and not what other people expect from him, only then a real substantial change is possible. And so he presents then the small community solution as hope for a better world. But there was more than that. So he started Ananda in 1969, and at a certain point, Ananda became much more than a community movement. There were I think 3 or 4 communities in America, and then in Italy, and now in India. He realized that Ananda was also becoming a big family, you might say. In the English word, or the Sanskrit word for family is Sangha, okay? He had so many friends that did not live in an Ananda community. And he supported, whenever he got a chance, he supported them. I myself, when I was not living at Ananda yet, but I was serving Ananda through meditation center in Rome, but he would always answer my emails and say, send his love, not just for me, but also for my children. It was a very, very dear, endearing, and deep friendship. I could feel his support for me at a distance. So he realized then that the communities are geographically circumscribed, you might say, but they are just, light bulbs, and they enlighten. But really, there are many individuals like you all in Europe who are also serving this light, trying to share, to find this light within, and trying to serve it. And each one is doing it in his own unique individual way. And you are trying to cooperate. You're trying to work together. And those are the concepts of, community life. And it doesn't matter whether it's a community as there already exists. It just, whatever comes to you, that is what you need to do in the Sangha. So when he realized that, Swami, that he had a big family, so to speak, he said, what defines us as Sanghis, as members of the great Sangha family? And so this was only 2 years after he had published Hope for a Better World. He woke up in the middle of the night, I think he was in India, and he said, this is what Sangha, what distinguishes, or what the self-definition that we all need as members of this great family. Not a self-definition that confines us, but a self-definition that inspires us and that gives us clarity of purpose. And so he wrote The Ways of the Ananda Sanghis. You can find the article on our European website, and I would urge you all to read it, because that is who we really are. Not just the people here, but the people all over Europe who are listening now and who will listen to this later on. That is what we really are. And that is what he will continue to inspire us to do and to be. So, as Sangha then, we are developing some new initiatives in which we would like to unite even more with our greater family in Europe. And so there is a wonderful Sangha team here, composed of Ruby and of Savitri and of Parvati and Arudra. And Ruby will now share something about the things that we are developing, the new initiative that we are developing to help each one of us to share the light even more meaningfully and more deeply. Thank you, and thank you, Swamiji.
Good evening, everybody. It's such a joy to celebrate Swami together, to hear all these stories and really celebrate his life work. But now I want to bring us to the next level, not only how we can celebrate and appreciate Swami, but how we can really step into his footsteps and bring his mission forward. And Darshan has launched us very beautifully with this description about Swami as the Dwapara Yuga citizen, and also talking already about the book Hope for a Better World, which is the name of this new inspirational campaign. Yes. And there is a phrase that I think Nayaswami Asha used that I really love, because she said Swami, with Ananda, has not only created, communities and books and all these things. It's not only about the teachings of self-realization, but really through Ananda we have created a culture of self-realization. And I really feel it's exactly what Darshan just spoke about, and also it's what we feel this campaign is also about. It's really about bringing the teaching of self-realization in your daily life with very, practical ways how you can transform first yourself, and then you can transform the world. How Darshan already so beautifully, explained, obviously, to, bring forth a better world. We first need to bring forth our better being inside.
And so, yeah, we are really feeling, I think for the first time, that in this campaign we're really hoping to do this not only here as the Ananda Assisi family, but to really spread out and do it as a big Sangha family, all of Ananda Europe really bringing, and all of Ananda worldwide really, because this theme is not only here, but it's a global theme that also in America they are using, and in India. And we're really hoping to create a beautiful wave of energy, that can really help people on all levels, to apply these teachings and to really live Ananda in its true sense, not as a place, but as a movement. And so, yeah, we are very grateful. We worked for quite some time now, and there's still much more to go. And I would say, let's just honor Swami, not only, celebrating him, but also really walking in his footsteps and bringing his footsteps into the future. And just want to finish with that famous quote of Swami that is also in The Answer, in the film about his life, where he says when he goes on the bus to see Yogananda, he says, I had 2 desires in my life. First, to find God, and second, to share him with all. And I think this is what we all can also do. So thank you, Swamiji, and thank you all of you. And yeah, let's uplift this world and bring really forth hope for a better world. Jai Guru.
So we have 2 more songs for you tonight. The first one is called Dark Eyes, which is about Yogananda's mother. He wrote a poem and then Swamiji put it to music. And the last song is Love is a Magician, which was one of 2 of Swami's favorite songs that he always loved to end events with. So that's what we will do. I've known them forever, they've haunted my slumber and called to me out of the deeps of space. The love that they promise has helped me remember another time, a caring embrace. Dark eyes in the morning, dark eyes in the evening, dark eyes in the starlight at end of day. Dark eyes that speak silence, they whisper, come find me. You'll never know true love if you stay. Now I seek them in the winter time, oh, I seek them in the spring. Those 2 dark eyes draw my heart away to hear sun and moon sing. I laugh now in the summertime when ripples on the river play. I laugh soaring with the meadowlarks, love has made my heart gay. I laugh soaring with the meadowlarks, love has made my heart gay. I've known them forever, they've haunted my slumber and called to me out of the deeps of space. The love that they promised has helped me remember another time, a caring embrace. Another time, a caring embrace. Love is all I know, sun rays on the snow of a winter long, in darkness without song. Oh, my heart's afire, burning all desire, only you remain in life again. Too long I did stray, flung lifetimes away, imagined you did not care. I know now your smile was mine all the while. I listened and love was there. I can't breathe for love, all the stars above call to me, come home. Life's waves all end in foam. Only love can heal all the pain I feel. What a fool was I to turn away. Too long I did stray, flung lifetimes away, imagined you did not care. I know now your smile was mine all the while. I listened and love was there. I can't breathe for love, all the stars above call to me, come home. Life's waves all end in foam. Only love can heal all the pain I feel. What a fool was I to turn away. Thank you, Swamiji.
Thank you all for being with us tonight. Thank you, Premi. Thank you, wonderful musicians, Vinaya and Julian, Ruby, and the technicians and Annapurna. So if you want, stay with us for a few more minutes, because now each one present in the temple will offer a flower to Swamiji. And if you have a flower at hand, you may do so too. Or you can also just meditate in front of your altar or in front of the computer, listening to Swami chanting the holy mantra of Om. And thank you again for being with us. May Swami continue to inspire you to find your own unique self within, in your own soul. Thank you.
Oh.